Hi everyone, in this video we're going to demonstrate using GitLab GraphQL API using PowerShell and also using GraphQL. So without any further ado, let's delve into the demonstration. I have logged into my GitLab account, which you can see here. So you can see my biopic over here, and also it gives my profile information. It gives my name and account information. So let me zoom out a bit so that it will be easy to read. Yes, I've logged into my GitLab account and I've opened up my GitLab GraphQL API documentation for the references. So you can navigate to this particular link and get a lot of information about what resources you can work with and how you can go run the query efficiently. And also you can get a lot of information about the mutation and how to subscribe for getting some kind of information for the larger data objects and other details. We don't want to get too technical about the subscription because in this demonstration I'm going to work on query, mutation and fragments. All right, so before using the PowerShell, let me use the GraphQL to run the query to demonstrate how you can use the GraphQL API in GitLab to work with GitLab. Okay, so gitlab.com/dash/GraphQL Explorer. So when I go to this particular URL, I can see a text over here which helps me to use the shortcut and also to tell you how exactly this GraphQL can be utilized efficiently. As I said, this is simple and straightforward. I'm going to remove this and work on the query directly. So type in query, self-descriptive, it shows, and now I want to know about the current user who logged in. So I'm just going to type in current user. So I got the information called a text called current user. What exactly it is of type user core, or yeah, it is of type user core. This documentation is really helpful in GitLab. You can just navigate and click on the user core and it implements of type user, which gives me the field informations like whatever we see it in the right side of this web page. Okay, so now what is the name of the current user? So let me shoot at blind. I just picked up some field to see whether it's going to retrieve some result. It did. I can see my name. How do I confirm that it's working as expected? I just want to see what is the job title. I just typed in the word or just type in for search for title. You can get whatever the matches. So I get job title and I'm running the query. So I can see the job title as technology lead. Is that correct? Let me go to my profile and click on edit profile. Look at my job title. I can see that. Let me try to change this and run the query. All right, go to my, okay, for now I just close the documentation page. So when I run this, I can see technology lead still. It didn't change because I didn't click on update profile settings. It's my bad. I have updated it. Back here, run it. I can see the changes happening. Excellent. I can query the current user information. Similar to this, I can also go query other user information, something like using the user type and pass on the user ID or the username in the argument field. Okay, so let's make some query that gives me information which I can make use of, because I know who am I, what is my job title and other stuff, but I want to know how many group I'm engaged in, how many group I'm working for in this particular GitLab, right? So I just go to my so I just go to the current user. Underneath the current user, I search for group count I belong to. It gives me 9 groups. I come to my gitlab.com where I have authenticated. Go to groups. I see like 3 plus 3, 6, 7, but it shows me 9 because Cloud 365 is a group which has 2 subgroups underneath it. So you can see I've got almost like 9 groups altogether. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. Brilliant, that works. That's exactly I'm looking out for. Now that I need to make sure I give a data that gives the group information as well. So for that, what I can do is I can directly go to group memberships and then try to access the fields from the group memberships. I go to nodes and get the group type and give the group name, and you want to know what kind of access you have got it on that particular group. So I access this access level. I try to get the access level field and get the string value of it. That gives me who am I in that particular group. Am I a owner, or am I a developer, or a maintainer, or a guest, whatever it is. That's simple and easy. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to make sure similar way I need to query about the project information, right? So I go to query and type in for project. So I'm going to get only one project information. So I get the full path of the project, and what I can pull out here is some fields like ID, name, wiki enabled or not, issues enabled, how many issues has been logged in that. Alright, what I do is I just simply type in all issues, whatever it is, like it is in whatever the status it is of, and then I get the star count, I get the forks count, and I get the commit history. Number of commits I've got, commits count, right? Now that I want to get the query and give a friendly name for the operation I'm going to do. So get project info is the friendly operation name, and I pass a variable now because I don't want to hard code the full path of the project. I just give full path, whatever the name, variable name you can think of, and what type of it. It is of ID and it's mandatory. I type in, replace this with full path. Whatever I type here should be replaced here, right? Now go ahead and click on Predify and run it. You see an error which is expected value to not to be null because I'm passing a null value. Click on query variables, simple as that. Give a JSON type, open a flower bracket, IntelliSense will take care of it. Now I give the project full path, workwave ps GitLab. Now when I go and run it, I get the value back. So what I get the response which says what you're looking out for. I'm exactly looking for wiki issues, issue counts, star counts, fork counts, whatever it is. So pretty much simple and straightforward. I can query the project information. Similarly, if you want to pull all the project information under a specific group, you can do that as well. Okay, I made a typo, but that's okay. Let me cut this one off and keep this in a notepad for now. Maybe, I don't know, I may reuse it later. Now that I'm gonna query the group, get all the projects underneath the group, project information underneath the group, right? So I'll say get project, okay. I just keep it as get group project info, and then I type in group, I give a full path, and then I go for the projects. Instead of project, I'm going to type in projects, pull in what field I want to do. So here I see count, edges, nodes, page info, and type name. This too is pretty much important for me. All these are important because quickly I can see how many projects are underneath the given group. Let me go to this and type in full path ID mandatory and replace it with full path. Alright, it's case sensitive, so I need to make sure P is in uppercase. Predify, run it. Underneath this group work wave, I've got two projects, right? So if I go and create a new project underneath it, something like demo, and then what happens, it creates a project. Perfect. And now I come back to GraphQL and run it. I see 3 projects. That's simple as that. Now what should I do is I need to give some more data for my target audience. What should I do? I need to get a lot of nodes or edges information. First thing first, what happens if I want to get the nodes data? I get nodes ID. These are all the fields I'm going to pull in. Name, star count, folks count, and what else I want to do? I want to give wiki enabled, pipelines count, number of pipelines executed. I give all. It doesn't. It's not the status whether it is passed or failed. Instead, it is going to be the state of the pipeline, whether it is completed, finished, or running. Okay. So I'm just going to run this. I get that information for all the projects. Okay. So similarly, I can also check whether the repository is existing or not as well. I can get repo information as well. So how do I do that is I can get some data called repository field and see exists. So if I run it, it's going to give me whether the repository exists for the given project. Okay, if there is no repo created, so obviously it will be false. So there are a couple of other fields you can get it from repository, like what is your default branch underneath that. So for me, main is the default branch. So if I go to the demo project and I quickly go to the branches, over here I should be okay, branches. I should create a new branch for dev from the main branch, and I can go to the settings, repository, branch defaults expand. I just change dev as the default and click on save changes. Now I come back here and run this query. For a demo, I can see dev as my root branch. That's exactly what I was looking out for. Awesome. Now that I've shown you how to query the information exactly what you look for, let me come back to the pagination part which I was discussing earlier. If I have a records more than 100, obviously GitLab GraphQL don't give me more than 100 records in per request. So I need to enable the pagination. How do I know that I need to make sure I get the right information, and also I don't want to get into the multiple loops and other things. Very simple and straightforward. Underneath the projects, you can go ahead and search for the page info object, and then what fields you get? End cursor, has next page, has previous page, start cursor. For me, for my program, I'll just go ahead and choose has next page, end cursor. This 2 is enough for me, because in my PowerShell script, I'm gonna look for the next page value, the Boolean value. Is it true or false? Similarly, I get the value for the end cursor and I navigate to the next page and get the set of records. It's very simple. Let me show you that. So when I run it, it's going to run and give me the data what I'm looking out for, because I don't have any records more than 100. So this demo, this particular query is not going to be very helpful, because I have only 3 projects underneath one group. So what I do is I go to a issues type and pull out that information. That will be more easier. For that, what I do is I go to query. I don't want to type it because I have the query already available here. So now let me show you what I have it in this. I'm going to pull out the project issue inventory, pass on the full path of the project, and also pass the end cursor value. To start with, my end cursor will be always null, and I get the first 100 records. Let me show you. I'll pull first 10 records for the demo purpose. Then I'll tell you how it works. Now that if I go run it, I see null, because the full path is for the group. I need to give for the project, right? I give this GitLab and then I run it. So now that I got 10 records, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 and 10, right? I've got 10 records. But you see what happened here? I didn't pass the end cursor value, right? That's not mandatory, but now I need to pass it because that's what my logic is all about. I go run it, I pass the null value, it get first, and then this will be replaced with null. Now I go copy this and do this here. What you see here is 959 number. Just keep a tab on it. It gives me like 9025, whatever it is. Now if I run it, you see a different set of records. It starts with 9024 and ends with something 9014 or whatever it is. So I'm just getting another 10 set of records. That's simple as that. Now I can use this programmatically in PowerShell. I can use some loops and then I can get the data. Let me quickly show you how that works as well. So I have a GraphQL query here in a different file. I placed it in project.information.graphql. The extension is GraphQL. And then I have a PowerShell script here which accepts the full path, and I'm building a PS custom object to convert it to JSON, which accepts three fields here: operation name, query, and variables. So the query is nothing but the content from the raw content from the GraphQL file, and the operation name is the name of the operation, what I'm going to do. Query is type of the operation. Query is a type of operation. Mutation is another type of operation. Fragment is another type of operation. Similarly, a subscription as well. The name of this operation is whatever the string literal, the friendly name you provide. So that's what I'm passing it in the operation. And the variables is something like whatever we pass it from the query variable. I convert it to JSON, and what I'm doing is I'm hitting the API endpoint, GraphQL API endpoint. This is the only endpoint we use throughout this exercise, and there is no other endpoint available for the GraphQL. You don't need as well. That's the beauty of that. You don't need to have multiple endpoints and other things to query it. You can club up, aggregate, and then query whatever the exact data you're looking out for with this one particular endpoint. So now, what happens after converting this to an JSON object, I'm passing that as a body for this particular API, and my headers is bearer token with a PAT token, GitLab private access token. Okay, and when I go ahead and do this inside the loop, what happens when I hit for the first time? I get a value for my end cursor, which I pass it as a variable value, which you see here. Right, this is what exactly we do. When I get a string and I pass it over here, and then I get the data back. So first time when it hits, it takes 100 records, right? I do it as 10 for now. All right, so when I do 10, first 10, and then it will find if there is a end cursor value and has a next page. It will be always true, right? So it will keep running. It will break when the has next page value turns false. So that means when this has next page turns false, the script terminates. Let me show you how that works. So now I go and get the result and invoke the script. So I want to give the workway /ps GitLab, and I run it. So this is going to do a request and get the response back. It will be executing for 10 times because, or more than 10 times. Now depends on number of pagination we have selected for, and give us the result. So now that I've got the result object back, and you can see I got the response, the issues response. So let me quickly go ahead and see the count of it. I've got 244. Let me go to my issues and see workway, and I go to my PS GitLab issues. I see 244. All is 244. That's brilliant. So this is how we do the pagination and query the data. The logic remains same. You can think about the scenario, or for whatever the requirement, you can rewrite your queries. So now let's move on to the mutation example. The mutation, as the word says, it's going to change the state, or it is going to help you to update the data back to the server in the GitLab server. So what I have is a good example. I have issues, so I can work with the issues itself. Let me show you how that works. Go to the mutation, and I want to work with issues. As I said, I type in issue. Let's see what it gives for me. Okay. Okay, I see something like create issue. That's good. So it accepts an argument called input, and for this I need to pass the parameter values. So what is this error is all about? Hover the mouse on top and read the help text. That's more than enough. So now I need to pass project path and title. This too is important and mandatory. Right? So I just go to the project path and then I give title. So now I see a error over here in the create issue type. What exactly it says? It says like must have a selection of subfields. Let me select the subfields. Okay, I just put client mutation ID. I don't know what will be the return fields for this. Let's give a try what happens. Try to see, okay. Return client mutation ID. Okay, sorry, this is going to be my project path, right? Workway /PS GitLab. And then type in here client mutation ID and run it. It gave me null. I don't know. Let's see what happened. It created any issues. Yeah, it created the issue, but it didn't return me anything. But I don't see an error or I don't see any problem in this. But I don't prefer doing this way. Instead, what I do is I do issue and then type ID, title, created it, and what else I can see. Yeah, that's more than enough for me for now. So I just give a description this time, like wow, and then predify it. Let's see how this works. So this is pretty much helpful for me because when I send a request, I got a response back with the global ID of the issue. It gives me the return of a title and also it returns me with the created timestamp. Come back here, click on issues. You should be seeing one other issue created. This is a good example for the mutation. So let's see one other example to update the issue. So now I want to make sure I close this issue. So I just go to update issue and then input. What I do here is I give the ID, that's the ID of the issue, and then I give the project path. So similar to this, I select the fields ID, title, close it. So if I go and choose the number 246, project path is going to be the same. Copy this and pass it over here. So when I run this, okay, close it is null because it can't give you the closed timestamp during the runtime. So now I just come back and click on issues and see the 246 is still open. It makes sense because I didn't give the state event. So I want to choose this as close and run it. Now, yes, I can see closed at the current timestamp. Come back here, do a refresh. You can see the status changed to closed. So it's that simple and easy for us to use GraphQL, and it is flexible, efficient than REST API. Having said that, REST API continue to be there in GitLab as per their documentation, but I prefer to use GraphQL a lot to work with GitLab programmatically because that is the vision of GitLab as well. And using it with PowerShell, it gives me a lot more flexibility because I can do furthermore filtering. I can play around with the JSON objects, and also I can get the format of data what exactly I'm looking out for. In my next demo, I'll give further more exercises. I'll show further more exercises using the subscription and building up some kind of a custom dashboards using this. Thanks a lot for watching my video.